Where are the seniors right now?
They're in cars, parking lot.
Okay, so they'll be coming down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come down this way. We're on. We're rolling. Perfect. Oh.
Where would the map opening right there?
Right, and now it's right here.
Okay.
So this is the view that we get right now.
Okay, Chris and I would like to stand somewhere, so should we stand here or down there?
This is, let's see, so if you're in the front, if you're
Okay.
way behind the door.
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Oh.
Hello.
Oh. Are you ready?
Good evening, and welcome to the Winslow High School's Class of 2020 commencement ceremony. Thank you for joining us. We will begin with the playing of our national anthem by our very own Bryce Gunsinger.
Why don't you, do you have another mic for everybody?
That podium right there, Bryce.
Thank you, Bryce. My name is Silver Kluge, and I am the Vice President of the Class of 2020. I will serve as Mistress of Ceremonies for this evening's events. Joining me off to the side of the stage is Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Peter Tivitot, Principal, Mr. Chad Bell, and Assistant Principal, Mr. Rick Hensby. Speakers for tonight's events will be Class Secretary Riley Loftus, Class President Jake Keisers, and guest speakers Ms. Christine Bertolacini and Mr. David LaChapelle. So, Class of 2020, it's nice to see you all again. Who would have thought this is how we would end our high school careers? We will forever be known as the class that graduated in the student parking lot. The experience united us together even when we are apart. To those that are here tonight and those who would have liked to be here, thank you for your continued love and support. We wouldn't be where we are today without your guidance. Now please join me in welcoming Mr. Bell.
Wow. Wow. Whew. I'm going to try to get through this. Good evening, Class of 2020. It's hard to believe that today has come for so many reasons. But we're all here together. And that's what truly matters right now. Let's get a round of honks to support the Class of 2020. Let's go. I want my parting words for the Class of 2020 to be about two things that, if you can overcome the odds that are against you, will pay off huge dividends in the end. That, my friends, are the powers of positivity and perseverance. Both of these you have had to overcome in the last 3 months. But let me elaborate a little bit. I always say that negativity breeds negativity, and folks, it can happen to the best of us. Just think of how many times you haven't been upset about something, but after hearing from somebody who was upset about it, you started to get upset about it. Folks, I get it. Again, it happens to us all. Sometimes it is more difficult to look on the bright side of things. No, I'm not telling you to go through life like Pollyanna, and graduates, you can Google Pollyanna later on and figure out what that's all about. What I'm saying is take the time to look for the positive things in life. Let's take the past 3 months. We could spend time discussing and being upset about the things you lost being a senior. We can talk about being cooped up at home and not being able to see your friends. We could talk about how the view from your car at this graduation right now might be absolutely awful. Unless, of course, you like the view of that tailgate that you're sitting behind. But how about we flip the script a little bit and focus on the positives? The community support that you saw come out for you on Saturday. The time and effort the community, parents, faculty, and staff have put in to make sure your parade, baccalaureate, class night, and even this graduation right now went off as special as possible. Yes, you may not be at Colby College right now, but you are in a car with some of your loved ones. This wouldn't have happened at Colby. The class parade, class of 2020, you are the first class to have the honor of having it. Into the future classes, yes, that will become a new tradition here at Winslow High School. And think about it. All of this happened because of the COVID-19 shutdown. And think about home. How many of you were able to connect more as a family because you didn't have to run from practice to practice or game to game? Look at those special moments and cherish them instead of being upset that you lost so much. Now let's talk about the support your community has shown you, from the banners on the football field to the banner over the bridge. Our construction company that's building our school hung up a sign back there. Your junior high teachers are up in the window with signs all around. I'm going to keep going on because it's the police and fire escorts. It's Asian Cafe and Rita's Pizza who gave you some special treats. Fortin's that allowed us to take over the sign for you today. On and on and on. All of this came from our community just to support you in your time of celebration. It's hard sometimes, guys, I get it. But always remember to find the things that keep a smile on your face. You deserve it. Besides, it is so much more fun being happy than being angry and negative. We may not be able to change negative people with our positivity, but all I ask of you graduates is don't let negative people change you. Stay positive, and above all, stay happy. Now about perseverance. To help you understand the power of perseverance, I'm going to talk about a show that many of you might have watched during quarantine. And if you haven't watched it yet, you need to. There's a lot to learn if you look at it through the lens of overcoming adversity and perseverance. And I know what you're thinking, but I'm not talking about Tiger King. I'm talking about The Last Dance, the Chicago Bulls documentary. Steve Kerr was minimally recruited out of high school. His freshman year of college, his father was shot by terrorists in the Middle East. At this point of his life, Steve Kerr could have given up and just said, I'm going to do something different. But he didn't. Instead, he went on to be a 5-time champ as a player and earned 3 more as coach of the Golden State Warriors. Scottie Pippen. He wasn't even recruited out of high school. His freshman year of college, he was an equipment manager at NAIA school, Central Arkansas. He worked his tail off, made the team, kept on working hard, got a scholarship, kept on working hard, became the 5th overall pick in the NBA, became a 6-time NBA champ, and was named one of the 50 greatest NBA players of all time. And last but not least, a guy you might have heard of before, Michael Jordan. He didn't even make varsity his sophomore year. He went home, cried a little bit to his mother. Mom gave him a little tough love and said, Michael, if you want it, work for it. So he did. He worked hard. Not only did he make varsity, he ended high school as the top recruit in the nation. Then he went to the University of North Carolina. Can I get a honk for the University of North Carolina? Won a national championship. Went on to become the greatest basketball player of all time. And still, 20 years after he retired, his name is still synonymous with the greatest of all time, and comparisons of today's top players are still compared to him. It's not hard to find the adversity of successful people. Pick one, anyone. Find the road that they had to travel to overcome to be successful. If there's one thing I can promise you, class of 2020, is that this journey we call life will deal you setbacks. How you respond to those setbacks will become your defining moment. And I'm here to tell you there is no substitute for hard work. Get after it and be passionate about it. Now let's talk about you. Each of you have been dealt a bad hand over the last 3 months. You have been stripped of the final moments of your high school careers. How will you make the best of it? What lessons have you learned in perseverance? I urge you to take those lessons and become the best person that you possibly can be. Be the Michael Jordan of life. Setbacks will not be your defining moment. Again, it's not the setback that defines you, but how you respond to that setback. If you let the setback define you, then you might see it as a failure. If you use that setback as a way to learn and use it for motivation, then the success after the setback will be your defining moment. It's not too hard of a lesson to learn. Work hard to overcome whatever curveball life throws at you, because it will. It's pretty much the one guarantee I can make you. Class of 2020, I wish you all the best as you go into the future. Winslow High School is not your last dance. Let the lessons you learned here guide you as you move on to become the Michael Jordan of your chosen careers. I love you all.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Now for the class secretary, Riley Loftus, with a positive message for the class of 2020.
Well, good evening, Raider Nation. Look at us. Despite the hardship we faced, we made it. We're the class born in a time of a major terrorist attack on the United States, and we are graduating high school during a worldwide pandemic, which has left us isolated and alone. Yet here we sit in our cars, separate but together. If any class were to beat the odds and graduate during a pandemic, it was going to be us. And I'd say the class of 2020 has learned one of the most important lessons this year: staying positive. Despite the last 3 months, we have some pretty memorable moments to look back at during our senior year. Do we remember Leah Pilot saving a stroke during the state field hockey game? Because I do, and I bet the state champs sitting in this parking lot do too. Or maybe you remember Ronnie Mason scoring a 3-pointer during our unified game and the whole gym going wild. How about the feeling of having an exceptional closing night to your fall musical, Curtains? The girls' track team definitely knows the feeling of winning the KVAC meet. And Alex Demers also knows these same feelings, seeing as he is the state champion in wrestling. I think we all remember the feeling of finally winning Winter Carnival, right after Isaiah Goldsmith sent a pie straight into Mr. Bell's face. Throughout life, we'll all have moments where we need to remember the positive times to get through the tough. Boy, do we have one going on now. But we should all be grateful that we are able to celebrate this milestone with a burst of positivity. We started our celebration with our senior parade around town, surrounded by the Winslow community. We have our senior signs all around us, and we have Radar Road along Benton Ave. We are starting new traditions for the classes below us. Not an easy feat in a town with a strong sense of old tradition. Now, let's take a second to reflect on the last 13 years. Finally winning that Foursquare game in 3rd grade, or nailing the preamble test, all thanks to that song we could still sing right now if we wanted. Stop and think about the people who have had positive impacts on you along the way. Maybe it was a coach that threw your field hockey stick across the field, or a teacher that made you think outside the box by making you pick the winner in the fight, gorilla versus leopard, for March Mammal Madness. Or maybe think of our principal, who put in countless hours trying to salvage our graduation. And from the class of 2020, Mr. Bell, you nailed it. Now let's think about our biggest supporters, the ones who have been here since day one, our family. Being stuck at home since March 13th, we may have forgotten to thank our parents, our grandparents, and our biggest supporters. They are our brightest light. I think we have all turned to our families during this time of isolation for support and positivity. No matter what family member you're picturing, the one thing they have in common is always wanting the best for us. But maybe most importantly, we have turned to each other. We share the same feelings and heartbreak during this time, but we need to think of the positives. How many other Winslow High School classes get to graduate in the parking lot? I don't think this is a forgettable moment. Rather, I think it is a memorable one. Did we really want to go through days of marching practice just to learn left, together, right, together, over and over again? Who actually wanted to sit for hours at Colby, sweating in these caps and gowns, forced to wear a shirt and a tie with black shoes or a dress with stilettos? I'm actually wearing shorts and Birkenstocks. It's a win for me. We also have family all over the country who are watching us graduate who normally wouldn't have been able to make it on a Wednesday afternoon. And by the way, hi Uncle Mike. No matter what goes on with us for the rest of our lives, we need to remember to bring our positivity, our strength, and our resilience with us. I think thinking of the glass half empty will get us nowhere in life. We should always think of the glass as half full. On that note, Winslow High School class of 2020, together we made it. Congratulations and best of luck. As we look ahead, remember to never leave your positivity behind.
Thank you, Riley. At this time, I would like to introduce our class president, Jay Keisers.
Thank you. I'd like to start by thanking everyone for letting me use up my 15 minutes of fame this early in my life. On a serious note, I can't say how much of an honor it is to speak in front of my peers at such a historic time, not just in our lives, but in everyone's lives. Needless to say, I really feel like the main character right now, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. By now, my classmates and I all know very well that senioritis combined with a 3-month quarantine makes it impossible to get anything done. Honestly, I would have written this entire speech yesterday if I could have gotten away with it. I understand that the epidemic has caused people to have a wide range of experiences and emotions. My promise to all of you today is that a portion of this speech will be virtually the same as if COVID-19 had never bothered us in the first place. But first, let me address the elephant in the room. Using the phrase uncertain times to describe quarantine life should be outlawed forever. No other phrase in all of human history has been so obvious and useless. This next point is also obvious, but it deserves to be said. Being a senior at the same time as living through a worldwide epidemic is an extra dimension of chaos. You all know what it's been like. I'm not going to summarize it for you. As I'm writing this speech in late May, I have no idea what college I hope to attend in the fall. As of today, June 10th, I still haven't figured out that piece of my life. In the last 3 months, I spent most of my time being bored and frustrated. But when I sat outside and took a deep breath, I began to realize that things have already gotten much better. Infection rates have slowed, people have become better educated, the weather has gone from lousy to tropical every day, and states have been lifting restrictions all across the country. It stings to have your life put on hold. It's miserable when you look for answers and the entire world screams one singular answer back to you: wait. But whatever you feel that you've lost over the past several months, I hope all of you can look around and see that some things are still very much okay. This message goes out to my classmates. Listen, gang, the senior year of high school is not the hill worth dying on. We're about to enter our 20s. And if you think being a senior feels good, imagine how it feels to be in the prime of your life. Let that sink in. I've never been part of a normal high school graduation. That said, I've seen enough in person that I think I can imagine what it's like. And I think you, my classmates, can too. If you've ever seen a shooting star, you know that that tiny streak in the night sky is gone in less than a second. The world is about to get a lot bigger for us. We're going to be thinking about a long future ahead, and our high school experiences are going to shrink very quickly over time. It didn't take long for me to realize that imagining the experience of seeing a shooting star is really just as valuable as actually seeing one. Given enough time, I think we'll see that the same principle applies to this bizarre graduation. The end of high school is a big deal because it's all that we know right now. There will be much bigger accomplishments to look forward to in life. For decades to come, people will go about their lives knowing that the class of 2020 faced incredibly unique circumstances. There is a silver lining. The epidemic serves a greater lesson to us than to people who aren't already at pivotal moments of lives. If I had been a sophomore in the past few months, I no doubt would have been living my best life. No proms, no project grad nights, and no goodbyes to lose. COVID-19 plays a much lesser part in defining the high school experience of an underclassman. I think that we should appreciate that for the class of 2020, COVID-19 serves as a baptism by fire. Out of pure coincidence, this worldwide event is happening just as my classmates and I are coming of age. Such is life. Sometimes. God forbid something like this happens again, but if it does, we will all be able to remember this unbelievably chaotic period and remember the ways that we made it out okay. I'd like to point out that only a small fraction of the Winslow High School experience has been ruined by quarantine. For a solid 3.5 school years, we got up just as the sun was rising to spend a 6.5-hour school day under fluorescent lighting. We survived countless hours of standardized testing, midterms, finals, assemblies, and required courses. The end was so far off in the distance that it was basically unthinkable. It's easy to paint high school as a miserable time. Everyone is uncomfortable to some degree. Nonetheless, it's important to spend some time dwelling on the happiest moments of the past 4 years. Game days, study halls, winter carnivals, at least 9 school dances, and the occasional random moments of peace. It's a privilege to be able to attend a school like Winslow High School. Far too often we take our school for granted. No one can argue that our school doesn't have character. Winslow High School is full of teachers and staff who go above and beyond their job descriptions. They do this because they care. If I told you that there's a high school where a peg-legged history teacher walks around telling dad jokes and throwing candy at students, you'd want to go to that school. Or if I told you that enrolling in physics is also a pathway to learning Tai Chi and blacksmithing, you'd hopefully be surprised. We've even had the pleasure of meeting a teacher that went to Harvard or something. Don't forget our guidance counselors who work tirelessly to make sure that every student is on the right path, or the staff that allow us to have winter carnival every year. Class advisors, principals, and secretaries are also essential pieces of the puzzle. We've been lucky to go to a school where people show up to work every day because it's their passion. I hope that my classmates will all take some time to reflect on how much growth took place during the last 4 years. I, for one, know that as an awkward, terrified freshman, I never would have imagined that I'd run for class president during my senior year, and this would be my first shot at being a class officer. It took years for me to find extracurriculars that I liked. I went through plenty of personality changes along the way. I don't think I even started to figure out who Jake Heesers really is until a couple of months into my senior year. For 3.5 years, I looked for increasingly creative ways to put myself in uncomfortable positions. I gave acting a shot, filmed bits for Black Raider News, did a bunch of outside student government programs, and campaigned for the ability to speak to you all right now. On top of that, I took some of the hardest courses that Winslow has to offer. I didn't submit to being in over my head until I was taking a course at Colby College. After all of this, my journey has barely even begun. Most of you who are graduating here today aren't really going to figure out who you are until many years from now, and that's perfectly okay. High schools aren't meant to produce finished products. In my opinion, our entire lives up until now have only laid a foundation. High school teaches students how to learn. Whether you go to college, go into a trade, or do absolutely nothing, you will first and foremost bring your ability to learn. Whatever personal growth you were able to achieve at Winslow High School will also travel with you. Adversity breeds character growth, and I can't stress enough that the adversity has hopefully only just begun. The more that you put yourself in uncomfortable, unfamiliar positions, the more that you will learn about yourself and strengthen your character. As graduates, most of us are preparing to leave our parents. As long as you're not under your parents' roof, you get to shape your own world. This is the freedom that you've been waiting for. Your world is up to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Now, what a great year to pick 2 guest speakers. Before tonight, I have never called them anything but Bert and LaChapelle, but there's a first time for everything, like a global pandemic. We have chosen 2 of the most kind-hearted teachers to deliver our final address. The amount of respect they both have for all of their students shows their true character. They care about the well-being of everyone. They ask about your day and how you've been doing. It's more than just a job to them. And I couldn't be happier to have these 2 as our guest speakers tonight. Please welcome Ms. Berta Lassini and Mr. LaChapelle.
Welcome everyone to the Winslow High School Class of 2020 Commencement Celebration. I'm honored to be speaking here today. Honestly, when Silver Kluge asked me if I would like to speak at graduation this year, I couldn't think of anything more terrifying than standing on the stage at Colby College in front of all of you. Fortunately, we're back at Winslow. I would like to thank everyone involved in making this live graduation a reality. Speaking here is definitely beyond my comfort zone, and I wanted to do it because you are a very special class. And people shouldn't pass up opportunities because they're scary. A certain English teacher emailed me some words of encouragement, and that helped tremendously. I'm sure Mrs. McGowan and Mrs. Bigu from drama and all the other coaches, teachers, club advisors, and staff would agree. Classes like yours don't come along often, and we are very fortunate to have had you at Winslow High School for the past 4 years.
I'd also like to thank you for asking me to speak. It is the ultimate compliment, and I hope you realize how honored I am to be speaking to you tonight. When you asked us to speak, You gave specific instructions, give some advice, and add some funny stuff if possible. We will try to do both. And just so you know, Mrs. Berlusconi and I met many times, and every single time, we talked about how much we've enjoyed spending time with you.
Commencement means a beginning or start. Now it's time for you to move out of your comfort zone of life at Winslow High School and start the next chapter. I would like to challenge you to build a life from which you do not need a vacation. In order to do this, you'll have to figure out what you're passionate about. Pick a few things that matter most and build your lives around them. You'll have to be intentional in making decisions that align with your goals. Be focused and strategic about how you spend your time so that your energy and resources will be expended and utilized in the best way. This isn't easy, and it's not always much fun. It requires difficult, painful, excruciating, all-consuming effort for a long time. In other words, grit. If you want to win a field hockey state championship, you have to run a lot of Burgoyne ladders. You may even have to do some yoga because recovery is important too. Being able to take risks on your way to achieving your goals is much easier if you're financially prepared. You are at the beginning of your careers, and there are basically two approaches you can take with money. You can set up a budget, live within your means, and invest some money. Your whole life, interest will be compounding, and your money will be making money for you. Alternatively, you can choose to buy things that you can't currently afford by going into debt. Interest will still be compounding, but you will be paying it instead of earning it. It's difficult to live on a budget because you have to wait to get what you want. Delayed gratification is hard. Please read Dave Ramsey's book, The Total Money Makeover, or listen to his podcasts, so you at least start out making informed decisions about money. It won't be easy. It will be worth it. The biggest obstacle you may face is not believing in yourself. You are graduating from Winslow High School. You can do anything. Mr. Tibitot believes in you so much, he named his puppy Raider. Surround yourselves with people who support you. If you decide you don't want the life you thought you wanted, have the courage to change your situation.
Mrs. Berlusconi just mentioned courage. Moving beyond your comfort zone requires courage, and in many instances, curiosity as well. Some of you are familiar with my turtle story. Here's a quick summary for those of you who are not. Many years ago, I called a state wildlife official to ask about the 2-foot fences near the highway south of Gardner. I called because I was curious. The first person told me the fences were probably for ducks. And I thought, even if ducks didn't have wings, they could use their springy little web feet to hop over 2-foot tall fences. Didn't make sense. Not satisfied with that answer, I called another member of the same department and learned the fences are there to prevent turtles from getting squished when they decide to move from one side of the highway to the other. There are tunnels underneath the road. More recently, my curiosity about wildlife struck again. I'd read an article about black racer snakes living in Maine, and I said, I'd like to check out those creatures in person. Interesting fact time. Racer snakes can grow to be more than 5 feet in length, making them the longest serpents in Maine. Since you are confined to sitting in your cars at the moment, you might be having a hard time picturing just how long 5 feet is. We teachers pride ourselves on creating easy to understand visuals, so here goes. Picture 5 second graders standing on each other, one on top of the other. In my estimation, that would be about 5 or 6 feet tall. As a side note, many of those kids, or those kids together, might be wearing one big cape and trying to sneak into a PG-13 movie, but I could be wrong. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is black snakes are pretty darn long. Intrigued at the thought of seeing gigantic snakes up close, I contacted one of the people who was involved with the program. Guess what I did last Thursday? Did a big snake slide over my sneaker while I was wearing it? And by it, I mean the sneaker, not the snake. The answer is yes. Do I now have a story to tell? Yes, again. Was all of this possible because of my curiosity? You know the answer. You have the power to do the same when it comes to adding interesting moments to your lives in order to break out of your own routines. Do you want to visit the Grand Canyon? Do you want to learn how to build cabinets or picnic tables? Do you want to figure out how to solve a Rubik's Cube or tie a fly that will fool the pickiest of trout? Invest a little time making calls. Invest time taking advantage of resources that are all around you in the form of websites, books, and most importantly, people. Forget about saying, yeah, I'd like to do that someday. In order to be successful at adding movement to your lives, you need to follow through sooner rather than later. Many of you did just that when you joined the art club, the lettuce club, or the math team merely because you wanted to try something new. Some of you auditioned for a play or tried out for a sports team for the same reason. Some of you found your calling when you joined Mr. Keenan's Student Senate group or participated in Mrs. Dagnall's genetics project. Perhaps you became inspired at an earlier age. Ms. Began, Mrs. Roy, and Mrs. Roby showed you how to decorate gingerbread houses when you were in kindergarten. Maybe you then decided you wanted to become an architect or a wedding planner when you were old enough to do so. I bet Miss Mishu's Egypt project in junior high caught your interest. If it did, and you're willing to step outside your comfort zone, you may one day find yourself scaling 450-foot tall pyramids in Egypt.
How many second graders does 450 feet equal?
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked. I would say 20, maybe a couple more. I'd probably have to do some multiplication and division using what I like to call snake math.
In science, we call that dimensional analysis, or factor label method of converting. Speaking of reptiles, Theodore Roosevelt's favorite animal was a turtle.
Excuse me for a second. Did Roosevelt live south of Gardner?
No,
Did he like ducks?
I don't know.
I thought you might since you're a science teacher.
The reason Roosevelt liked turtles is that in order for them to move, they have to stick their necks out.
That's a wonderful piece of knowledge.
Nothing grows in a comfort zone. As you step out into the world, have a positive attitude. My favorite family vacation used to involve going to Bar Harbor. I go to Bar Harbor to run on the carriage trails. I go to Bar Harbor to bike the Park Loop Road. Guess where I go to hike? One day, on the way home from Bar Harbor, I was looking at the cover of the Northwood Sporting Journal, and I noticed a headline that suggested canoeing the Allagash Wilderness Waterway. My husband, Joe, commented, "We should do that someday." I immediately thought, are you kidding me? Drive for 5 hours down a bunch of logging roads to sit in a canoe for days? I am not a good sitter. I decided to have a positive attitude, though, and we went 2 weeks later. It turned out to be a phenomenal trip. My only regret is that we didn't canoe Chase Rapids. That's on my bucket list. The next summer, we had the opportunity to hike the Grand Canyon because my daughter Corinne moved to Salt Lake City, which is only 7 hours north of the canyon. While we were checking in at the ranger station, the ranger called me an idiot for hiking down into the canyon in July. It's hot down there, and you'll end up having to be lifted out in a helicopter, he said. But I teach high school, so there isn't an option of going back in the fall and hiking while it's cooler. So we hiked that day, despite the risk. You should all experience a night at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. The stars are so bright. My point is, maintain a positive attitude and have some adventures. Plant some yellow tulips. As Mr. Osborne always said, be a proton, not an electron. In case you forgot, protons are positive. It's all about your attitude and taking a little risk.
I'd like to point out that although graduation is an exciting moment for you, the graduates, it's a happy, positive, but somewhat sad time for many of your family members. Your parents have enjoyed watching you grow up and fostering your curiosity. But when they look at you now, some are already feeling a bit of nostalgia, partly because they realize there are certain things they will no longer be able to do with you. I bet that all parents here tonight miss those long ago days of popping wheelies with the grocery cart while you, the graduates, were sitting on that little fold-down benchy thing. All parents, I'm sure, miss being able to go on certain kiddie rides with you at the fair. Do you remember that ride that had miniature monster trucks? Luckily, I was able to drive those trucks thanks to my own two sons when they were young. And yes, I did say drive, not ride as a passenger. After tonight, your families, friends, and teachers will miss watching you perform on the playing field, on the stage, and
Eating lettuce?
thank you for the assist. Nice reference to the Lettuce Club. Here's what your parents and your grandparents know. The list of past joys is long, but the list of future joys is much, much longer. Speaking on behalf of the faculty, I'd like to note that although you are not our children in the literal sense, over the past 4 years, you sort of have been, if that makes sense. You have provided us with countless opportunities to share in your victories, to maintain a sense of pride in our school, to marvel and appreciate how accepting you are of others. That's a culture that you have embraced and maintained. We, the Winslow High School community, are and will continue to be the benefactors of your positive actions. I'd like to veer away from my printed speech for just a moment. Speaking of positive actions, I just discovered that Mrs. Verlicini went on every single food run for the 3 months that we were out of school. She's going to be mad at me for saying that, but I think that's worthy of beeping or applause. That's why I was quizzing you earlier. Minutes from now, you will become official members of an exclusive, prestigious club. You will become Winslow Black Raider alumni. You have earned your place, and we teachers, staff, and administrators are fortunate to have witnessed the process leading up to tonight's ceremony.
We wish you the best of luck as you build your new lives for yourselves. When you run into classmates 10 years from now and they ask how you are doing, I hope you can honestly say that not only are you living the dream, but you've also stepped outside the comfort zone. Congratulations, class of 2020. We will miss you.
Thank you both. Now the part we have all been waiting for. I would like to call up Mr. Tipitot, Mr. Bell, and Mr. Hensby up to the stage for the presentation of our diplomas.
Hold on, I need to get a picture of this. Go ahead and honk, honk. And I can honestly say I have never shivered at Colby during graduation. I am absolutely freezing right now, but it is all worth it. All righty. I need groups 1 and groups 2 to head up to the stage. Group 1's going to be next to me. Group 2 over by the school. You're going to stay Haneen Kawa Ali. Carly Kayla Anderson. Alika Guinevere Andrews. Catherine Brianna Bailey. Lily Claire Bartel in absentia. Riley Hunter Beatty. Devin Allen Betancourt. Eric Matthew Booth. Sebastian Lee Bouchard. Cameron Ryan Brockway. Brandon Charles Campbell. James Allen Mason. Ronnie James Mason. Jonah Donald Searles.
There you go. Keep going, Jonah.
At this time, can I have group 3 to the holding area? Group 3. Lydia Joe Carey. Brielle Alexis Carter. Gabriella Hope Chambers. Garrett Michael Cho. Jesse James Cloutier.
Thank you.
Silver Lee Kluke. Abigail Elizabeth Cochran. Brooke Lynn Cochran. Brady James Corson.
Let go!
Camden Christopher Dangler. Alexander Jeffrey Demers. At this time, can we have group 4 to the stage, please? Micah Robert Dixon. Willa May Dolly. Katie Elaine Dowdy. Ronan Guy Drummond. Hannah Grace Dougal. Brennan Anthony Duncan. Summer Lynn Eister. Chloe Tina Fecto. Sophie Ann Marie Gary. Isaiah Joseph Gidney. Christopher Allen Gerard. At this time, Group 5, please come to the stage. Isaiah Matthew Goldsmith. Hannah Edith Marie Goodeye. Cameron Lawrence Goodwin. Cody Daniel Green. Bryce David Gunzinger. Dawson Paul Gursky. Aaron Wayne Harmon. Gabrielle Taylor Hack. Wyatt Aaron Hood. Landon Lawrence Hotham. Jacob Thomas Beezers. At this time, could group number 6 come up to the stage? Ross David Hughes. Sadie Dawn Urza. Cody Robert Ivy. Savannah May Joler. Caleb Robert Joseph Legacy. Kaylin, Jessica, Lakey. Julianne Marie Lapierre. Nicholas Peter Lemieux in absentia. Felicia Ashley Lessard. Alexi Ann Littlefield in absentia. Riley Ann Loftus. At this time, would group number 7 please come to the stage? Ethan Roland Matthews. Caleb Scott Mills. Christopher James Mills. Brandon Wade Moore. Haley Elizabeth Moore.
I figured I was the one.
Madison Amelia Morin. Mariah Jean Elizabeth Morrison. Shaylee Elizabeth Morrison. Gabriel John Lamoris. Skylar Jude Nye. At this time, would Group 8 please approach the stage? Elena Paige O'Hara.
Don't forget the diploma. Well, definitely be 4 more years if you don't get it. Oh, watch out. Here you go. Awesome. You're gonna go here over there.
Wesley Joseph O'Neill. Chase James Pelkey in absentia. Leah Jane Pila.
I love you!
Christopher Michael Fair. Madeline Ann Phillips. Justice Marie Picard. Faith Elizabeth Pomerleau. Colby Hunter Pomeroy. Alexis Lynn Porter. Christopher, Michael, Julian. At this time, would group 9 please come up to the holding area? Morgan, Michelle, Presby. Anthony, James, Prue. Ashley, Faith, Kieran. Kristen, Lorraine, Rancor. Braden, James, Rayborn, in absentia. Miranda, Marie, Raymond. Zachary, Allen, Real. Jackson, Kenneth, Reynolds. Jenna, Elizabeth, Rodriguez. Taylor, Cora, Rodriguez. Shane, Anthony, Salvis. At this time, would group 10 please come to the holding area? Nevaeh Ann Chukar. Carrie Lynn Selwood. Mallory Sheridan. Grace Elizabeth Smith. Austin Thomas Susie. Allison Gray Stavins. Brianna Lee Stanley. Hannah Marie Stevens. Catherine Ann Stevens. Nicholas Andrew Sweeney. Caleb James Thomas in absentia. Alexia Angel Tripp. Sage Mariah Vance. Gage Matthew Vaughn. Austin Joseph Bayu. Abigail Jean Washburn. William Paul Weiss. Caleb Tully Welsh. Austin Michael Williams. Abigail Lynn Wright.
We'll be up in this second. All right, ladies. Ready?
At this time, it is my pleasure to bring up your class advisors, Mrs. Loftus, Miss Turner, and Miss Pierce.
Okay. Ready? Class of 2020, please turn your tassels to the other side.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the class of 2020 as the newest alumni to Winslow High School. Congratulations. All righty. Now it's time to try to get out of this place. Congratulations to all of you. This was awesome. I will dismiss the cars by row with the help of our lovely assistants to try to get you out here as quick as possible. So let's start, and your class officers have picked out some special music for you to leave to. Hit it, Maestro. Group 1, go ahead.
Hold on to me and go. As you hold on to something more. All this way, string us along. Just know you're not alone. I'm gonna make this place your home. So if you feel you can always be found. So you're not alone. I'm gonna make this place yours. It was a big world, but we thought we were bigger. Pushing each other to the limits, we were learning quicker. Buying and smoking bourbon, drinking bourbon liquor. Never so we were out to make that steady pay. No one time to live in old. Daddy told me, get yourself started for you. I always had that story. So I'm sorry, writing songs, I'm sorry, writing stories. Something more about that story. This story seems so boring. Cause all the girls are really love the memory. One sound very easy. Story back home. Before the morning, someone like to call me. One sound very easy. only see my goals. I don't believe in failure, cause I know the smallest voices, they can make it major. I got my boys with me, at least those in favor. And if we don't meet before I leave, I hope I see you later. Once I was 30 years old, slowly got told I was writing out everything my soul told me. Once I was 20 years old. So really 30 years old, songs have been sold, traveled around the world and we still roaming. So really 30 years old. I'm still learning about life. My one brother so I can sing them all my songs and I can tell them stories. Most of my boys are with me, some are still out seeking glory, and some I had to leave behind. My brother, I'm still stopping. Soon I'll be 60 years old. My daddy got 61. Remember life, and then your life becomes a better one. I made a man so happy when I'm older little ones. I hope my children come and visit once or twice a month. Soon I'll be 60 years old. I think the world is full of how a lot of children who can hold me. Soon I'll be 60 years old. Soon I'll be 60 years old. I think the world is full of how a lot of children who can hold me. Soon I'll be 60 years old. Mom told me, make yourself some friends or you will be lonely. Once I was 7 years old. Once I was 7 years old. It's been a long day without you, my friend. And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. Thank you. Yeah. All the money you I'm standing right here talking to you. Trying to cut the past. I know we about to hit the road fast, but something told me that it's what I'm like. Had to switch up, look at things, the bigger picture. Those were the days while I'm on happy days. Now I see you in a better place. We got something I really want every time we got everything I would do, you were standing there by my side. And now you go, you really want to last rock. In a long way without you, my friend. And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. Come a long way from where we